Charlie's Angels is one of the most successful TV shows in history. But behind the scenes was a shocking story of manipulation, sex, and scandal.
At the beginning of Charlie's Angels, it must be what, the rock stars experience today.
Somebody got into her trailer on the set and tried to rape her.
I can't even sneak into a restaurant or a movie theater.
When people would say, "Which angel are you?" she would say, "I'm the one who can act."
I demand a lot of myself, and I demand as much, but not more, of the people around me.
Frankly, it's a pain in the ass.
Well, we were ordered to get them into bathing suits and shower scenes.
I never felt exploited. I felt it was mild.
I was asked to make sure the nipples were revealed in the coming out of the water.
I said to myself, it's good for ABC, but bad for civilization.
Plus, the life and tragic death of Phil and Bryn Hartman.
He was just one of those guys who could do anything and everything.
He said, "Well, Norm, it looks like the wife's taking me to divorce court."
She resented him because he was in the limelight and she wasn't.
She was just the greatest mother.
Phil issued an ultimatum. He couldn't put up with her drug taking anymore.
Finally, the mask fell off.
All tonight on TV Guide, the truth behind the rumors. Throughout the early 70s, primetime TV was dominated by male-oriented action shows. But by 1976, 60% of American TV watchers were adult women. The networks capitalized on this wave with shows that featured beautiful female stars, like Policewoman, The Bionic Woman, and Wonder Woman. Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg, producers of The Rookies, SWAT, and Starsky and Hutch, decided to follow the female trend, but multiplied it by 3.
We came up with the idea of doing a detective show with 3 beautiful girls. Actually, it was a show that we called the Alley Cats. The Alley Cats because the 3 girls' names were Allison, Leland, and Catherine, and so they were the Alley Cats.
The Alley Cats was originally to be the story of 3 policewomen, and from the beginning, Aaron Spelling had one of the leads cast, his female co-star of The Rookies, Kate Jackson. But Kate had her own ideas about the show, including changing the characters from policewomen to the more glamorous world of private detectives.
Kate Jackson had sat down with Aaron Spelling and kind of winged the whole idea to do a show led by 3 women. And Aaron had said that, what are they going to be? And, well, we should call them, and she looked across the room and saw a picture of an angel on the wall and said, they should be called angels.
Kate's input also included the idea of Charlie's voice coming across the speakerphone, also based on the squawk box in Spelling's office. Spelling and Goldberg pitched the show to Michael Eisner, ABC's senior vice president for primetime production and development, and a superior, Barry Dillard.
Aaron and I had breakfast with them, and it was not an overwhelming response. It was kind of like, let's order.
In fact, Diller and Eisner thought it was one of the worst ideas they had ever heard.
I thought it was an interesting concept because rarely do you see 3 girls as a lead in a show.
The pilot script for Charlie's Angels, co-produced by Spelling Goldberg and a production company owned by Natalie Wood and her husband, Robert R.J. Wagner, sat in production limbo until the new head of ABC TV arrived, Fred Silverman.
I looked at one of the old development books, and there it was, listed as a busted project. And I read the one-liner on it and thought it sounded kind of interesting.
Silverman gave the go-ahead for a pilot, and auditions began. The list of potential angels would eventually include Michelle Pfeiffer, Kim Basinger, Sherry Belafonte, Connie Selica, Suzanne Summers, and Kathy Lee Gifford. To complement Jackson's dark hair, a blonde beauty was essential. They found her in a young Texas woman who was already a TV presence from Wella Balsam and Ultra Bright commercials.
Mother never told me about Ultra Bright.
Farrah Fawcett Majors, wife of $6 Million man Lee Majors, had recently appeared in 3 Spelling Goldberg TV movies and was the hands-down choice for the athletic blonde Jill Monroe.
We had the dark-haired angel and the blonde angel, and we said, well, we should get a redhead.
And I wasn't a redhead. And so I went in red and didn't give a particularly great reading. And RJ, Robert Wagner, said, this is the girl for you. Forget the redhead. You got to go with her. And I think he really sold them on me.
The voice of Charlie was originally to be played by Oscar winner Gig Young, but on the day of taping, Young was allegedly too drunk to record his lines. So at 11:30 that night, Spelling convinced John Forsythe, an old friend, to put a coat over his pajamas and take on the role of Charlie. With the casting finally in place, an even bigger problem arose: the script.
My reaction to the pilot script, which I okayed, was that this was an awful script.
Fred came across it, we talked about it, and he was very enthusiastic about it. He liked the idea very, very much.
Reluctantly, we shot the script. And as the dailies came in, my opinion of the material didn't change very much, but I was more convinced than ever that we had in this combination a dynamite team of young women.
And it just was the right thing at the right time, and it was just lucked out.
They could read the phone book and it wouldn't make any difference. The show would be a hit.
After the first day of shooting, when ABC saw the dailies, they called up and wanted to fire Jackie Smith, because they said, well, we don't think she's a very good actress. And we said, in case you hadn't noticed, Shakespeare has not written this particular sonnet.
The combination of a weak script, insecurity about casting, and production infighting all pointed to almost certain disaster. Charlie's Angels debuted on March 21st, 1976.
Now, in that atmosphere, the show airs, the first one, and it is a monster success.
Seinfeld, which was the biggest hit of the decade, the 90s, averaged about a 31, 32 share. This got a 55.
Well, the next week, when it happened again, now came the first hints from the front office of trouble. Now there were signs of maybe we shouldn't make this show too good.
Without question, having three beautiful and glamorous leading ladies helped make Charlie's Angels one of television's most successful shows. But keeping up that beauty and glamour also made it one of the most difficult to produce.
We wake up at 5:30 every day, and I get home at 8 at night, and it's hard.
When you're in front of the camera, you do have to be aware of how you look.
David Soul could show up for Starsky and Hutch for an 8 o'clock call at 7:45, throw some lather on his face, shave, and he's out there. Whatever kind of night he had, he can do it. Kate Jackson, Jaclyn Smith, Farrah Fawcett, they can't do that.
So there's constantly a mirror, and there's matching, or there's fixing the hair, or something.
It's a long time for hair and makeup. It's a long, long time to get the clothes right.
This show is glamour-oriented, and, the clothes and the wardrobe fittings, and it's overpowering.
And that's hours a day where it's just over and above the 12 hours a day that you're guaranteeing your crew shooting time.
The hours are draining.
As successful as Charlie's Angels was with the public, it was met with an equal amount of disdain from the critics. The sexy clothes and situations gave rise to a new phrase in television.
The show with the jiggles.
Jiggle.
A jiggle show?
Kind of jiggling.
Time magazine went so far as to call Charlie's Angels family-style porn.
I don't have a lot of publicity things sent to me. I try not to read those because there's so much bad. And with the little good that filters in.
Feminists likened Charlie's Angels to a pimp and his girls.
They talked about Charlie's Angels being sexually exploited. We really weren't. We were these independent women who always set out and accomplished our feat, so to speak. I mean, we always got the bad guy. So I frankly think they should have applauded that it was three girls as leads in a show.
Whether it was considered feminism or pure jiggle, the producers knew better than to tamper with success.
Well, we were ordered to get them into bathing suits and shower scenes.
I even had a note on one occasion when shooting them coming out of a swimming pool. I was asked to make sure the nipples were revealed in the coming out of the water.
But the girls got tired of bathing suits without motivation in the story.
I'm just beginning to realize that I have more to offer than just, a face and a body.
I never felt exploited. I felt it was mild.
Jackie was wearing a white bathing suit. And I saw nothing, I sincerely saw nothing wrong. She looked beautiful in it. Apparently, you could see through the bottom part of the suit. I'm busy shooting a scene. I'm not looking at anybody's crotch particularly.
We were unapologetic and remain unapologetic about what we did.
I said to myself, it's good for ABC, but bad for civilization.
Coming up, Farrah's popularity produces tension between Charlie's Angels.
All of a sudden, you've got the most famous woman in the world, boom, being the sidekick. to Kate Jackson. Well, that wasn't going to work.
Kate Jackson gets a reputation.
Hence the word difficult comes into the picture.
And Jaclyn Smith finds her life in jeopardy.
She was walking the dog and someone jumped out of the bushes and attacked her.
When TV Guide, The Truth Behind the Rumors, continues.
Herbal Essences has an amazing...
The overnight success of Charlie's Angels. The overnight success of Charlie's Angels thrust the three stars into the spotlight. There were countless articles devoted to their hair, makeup, and fashion. There were Angels' lunchboxes, dolls, trading cards, and T-shirts.
It was hard to realize that Charlie's Angels was a success because we were working such long hours. And on the first interview, people would ask, what is it like? What is it like to have the show so popular? And I really didn't realize it.
My first week in production on that series, they were being photographed for the cover of Time magazine.
But the superstardom reached by one of the Angels is pure Hollywood legend.
Farrah quickly emerged as the media star of the show.
In the history of television, this woman just stood out like that. I mean, she became an instantaneous international star.
But it was the release of a single merchandising item that pushed her star into the stratosphere.
Everything was Farrah, and of course the poster, we all know her poster, which was just another poster, but I think every teenage kid in the world must have had it.
The poster was a sensation, with over 8 million copies purchased in the first year alone. Not since Marilyn Monroe had a woman inspired such a sexually charged frenzy.
When people say you are a sex symbol, that I kind of cringe.
Hundreds of thousands of boys had their first sexual experience with Farrah Fawcett. She just wasn't there.
Farrah mania became so overwhelming that when Scholastic magazine polled high school students to list their personal heroes, Farrah came in #1. President Jimmy Carter finished 16th.
Everybody was frantic. Women wanted to have Farrah Fawcett hair.
They would walk into the beauty shop and say, do me a Farrah.
While Farrah's meteoric rise to superstardom did much to make Charlie's Angels a huge hit, it also affected the balance of a show that had started out as a star vehicle for Kate Jackson.
All of a sudden, you've got the most famous woman in the world, boom, being the sidekick to Kate Jackson. Well, that wasn't going to work.
Kate is a very attractive woman. And then Farrah came in. Well, suddenly, she's not quite the most attractive woman on the show. And then Jackie comes in, who is absolutely beautiful. I think that's a big emotional hit for a woman.
There was no comparison, and if she tried to compete, it would have been foolish.
Her position was, I'm the smart one, and I don't do that.
Jackson's unhappiness surfaced in many ways. She became critical of wardrobe, often refusing to wear the most glamorous gowns in favor of a turtleneck and jeans.
We must have bought 200 black turtleneck sweaters in the course of the show.
She was definitely trying to de-glamorize herself as compared to the other two women.
I never thought that I was glamorous anyway, so I'm not trying to get away from anything. I'm just trying to do the thing that I feel is right for the character.
She wouldn't even make an effort. I mean, she would wear her Adidas with an evening gown and tell the cameraman not to shoot her feet.
But from the beginning, her greatest dissatisfaction came with the show's weak scripts.
Kate considered herself a thespian at the time, so we had to work with that.
When people would say, which angel are you? She would say, I'm the one who can act.
Somebody who has modest skills, but has an exaggerated opinion about what their ability is, and then flaunts it. And then, frankly, it's a pain in the ass. Of course, you know, as a director, that's it just makes it difficult.
I demand a lot of myself, and I demand as much, but not more, of the people around me. Hence, the word difficult comes into the picture.
I got a lot of heat from her, and we had a lot of problems. It was kind of a little war. I thought it would break down and get funny after a while, but it didn't. Kate and I were really fighting. I was going to quit because of her. And this is typical of how neurotic she is. She came over to me and said, we're going to be on hiatus, and I'm going to Paris for a week. Do you want to go? And I said, Kate,
I'm not even speaking to you. Why would I want to go to Paris with you?
On one occasion, Kate's run-in with the producers was over a more personal matter.
We were on location in Los Angeles near the airport. We had taken over a hotel and dressed it up to be a Las Vegas casino. And Kate wanted to go home. She wanted to leave at 7:30. Why did she want to leave? She had a date with Warren Beatty. This was a dream date, and she was going to have it. And I refused to shut the company down for her, so she said, I'll pay for it. What will it cost? It amounted to several episodes of salary for her to write this check. And she's poised with her checkbook. I said, we're not shutting down, and you're not going home. She says, I am going home. She said, get Leonard Goldberg on the phone, which I did. I told him that I thought this was a big mistake. She got on the phone. They talked for a couple of minutes. I was put back on the phone again, and Leonard said, close down the company, let her go.
From almost the very beginning, life on the Charlie's Angels set was in uproar. There were countless requests for photo shoots and interviews with the stars. And the legions of fans turned the 20th Century Fox lot into a daily mob scene.
I go through a lot of days when I think I cannot get up and face a camera, certainly the press, or even fans outside who just want autographs.
When we would go on location, literally tens of thousands of people would come at us. And we had 30 or 40 cops just trying to keep them at bay.
We were getting a lot of death threats, a lot of things were going on, but we never told Farrah.
People were climbing over the walls at the studio trying to take pictures.
We just hired bodyguards, we had surveillance people.
I had to finally say, you know, who am I kidding? I can't even sneak into a restaurant or a movie theater.
At the beginning of Charlie's Angels, it must be what, you know, the rock stars experience today. You couldn't walk down the street. We were shooting, we were with guards, and we had to be taken through kitchens and alleyways.
A lot of weird things did happen. In fact, I don't know if Jaclyn Smith will tell you, but somebody got into her trailer on the set and tried to rape her.
I was having a dinner party, and someone arrived and said, Jaclyn can't come. She was walking the dog, and someone jumped out of the bushes and attacked her.
Coming up, Farrah leaves Charlie's Angels and is threatened with a $13 million lawsuit.
Her reaction to that was, I'm leaving anyway. Go sue me.
Cheryl Ladd's quick and ample replacement of Farrah proves too much for the network's censors.
It was a wonderful thing to look at, but you notice in that show, all the shots are very tight on her head.
And the story behind the tragic death of Phil and Bryn Hartland.
He basically said, if you don't stop using, we're finished, and I guess she couldn't stop.
All when TV Guide, the truth behind the rumors, continues. At the end of the first year, Charlie's Angels' popularity was even more solidified when the show won the People's Choice Award for Favorite Drama. And Farrah won Best Newcomer.
I'm very lonely up here without my friends, and that's Kate and Jackie. I want to thank you very much because I couldn't have done it without you.
But within days of their success, the future of Charlie's Angels was to be severely in doubt.
Farrah announced while I was still there that she would not continue for the second year.
The first I heard was a news announcement that Farrah wouldn't be returning for Charlie's Angels. I had no wind of it. We had had no discussions about it, as far as I remember. It was very, very surprising.
Some blamed Farrah's hasty exit on simmering problems with Lee Majors.
Lee was so mad because he would wake up in the morning, she was already gone, into hair and makeup, and when he'd come home dead tired for dinner, she wasn't home yet. So he had said, look, this family makes $55,000 a week, and I make 50 of it. And there is no reason to throw this marriage into this kind of a discomfort zone.
There's a lot of articles, remember, written about how Lee made me go home and cook dinner after I slaved at the studio all day. It's only because I love cooking, and it's kind of like therapy for me.
Others believe that Farrah's decision to leave had less to do with saving her marriage and more to do with promoting a movie career.
People were whispering things in her ear, saying you can be a movie star. What, are you going to do this for another 4 or 5 years? And who knows what will happen? You'll be an old woman by the time you're finished with this show. And I think they really scared her.
As we got into it, it was clear that the two greatest influences on her were Jay and Lee Majors.
She was being made promises of stardom and inordinate amounts of money.
To keep Farrah on the show, Spelling Goldberg offered to increase her salary. Farrah asked for a raise from $5,000 per episode to $70,000 per episode, plus a 6-hour shooting day. The producers rejected the deal and, claiming she was in breach of contract, sued her for $13 million.
I would say to her, Farrah, what are you going to do? You have a signed contract with us.
When I left, it happened because I didn't have a signed contract.
We're going to sue you. You're going to hire lawyers. This is going to go on for a long time. ABC has a lot of lawyers. We have a lot of lawyers. You're going to be paying for a lot of lawyers.
Her reaction to that was, I'm leaving anyway. Go sue me.
She was in the process of making very powerful enemies.
Spelling Goldberg wanted Farrah Fawcett to stay on Charlie's Angels up to the point of doing anything but committing murder.
We're going to issue an injunction. No one will hire you as long as you're under contract, because we'll sue them for inducing to breach your contract.
But Farrah's departure from Charlie's Angels had an even stronger effect on her fans.
There's a lot of the public, for instance, who still resent the fact that I left Charlie's Angels.
They had tested a movie called Saturday Night Fever, and there was a boo from the audience, and they didn't quite know why. And they went back and they looked at it again, and when John Travolta is getting dressed, he looks over at the famous poster of Farrah on the wall, and the audience booed. So the audience was saying, she deserted us. It was just about making more money, and she already makes more money than all of us combined. Boo on her, not the show.
Spelling Goldberg finally agreed to drop the case if Farrah would appear in 6 new episodes for an astronomical fee of $150,000 per show. But the producers still had to find a replacement for the #1 female TV star in America.
Cheryl was someone who I think Aaron and I gave her first job to in a Rookies episode. So we knew of Cheryl.
Cheryl's professionalism and humor helped win over most of the cast and crew. But Kate Jackson did not immediately take to the new angel. Jaclyn Smith remembers there were problems between Kate and Cheryl from the very beginning, and Ladd recalls that some days Kate would speak to her, and some days she wouldn't.
Kate was someone who found happiness to be elusive. She was an unhappy girl.
It wasn't until the Angels were forced to share a trailer on location in Hawaii that the relationship became, at the least, civil. Cheryl's humor, combined with the fact that she agreed to do something on the show Farrah had refused, helped to win over America. That something was wear a bikini.
What could you say? I mean, she was inch for inch as beautiful a woman as there has ever been.
But when so many scripts began to call for that particular costume, Cheryl finally decided to draw the line.
Cheryl got tired of it, so when I wasn't watching the set one day, she had on a bikini that was very, very small and very, very revealing. And by the time that the show was shot and Aaron and the others looked at dailies, you know, they were flabbergasted. I mean, it was a wonderful thing to look at, but she'd gotten even with them. And the network looked at it, and they'd asked for it, and she said, here it is. They said, well, you've got to fix it. And you notice in that show, all the shots are very tight on her head.
While Charlie's Angels' popularity remained high for its first 2 seasons, so did Kate Jackson's dissatisfaction with the show.
Well, it only got worse.
But in the summer before the 3rd season, a situation arose that would make it the most difficult of all.
Second year of Charlie's Angels, Kate had been offered a movie.
They wanted Kate to play the part of the wife who leaves Dustin Hoffman.
Aaron and Lynn would not let her do it. So she was really, really unhappy.
The movie became the great film that it became.
And the movie, of course, was Kramer versus Kramer. And that was the end of Kate's cooperation with those people, because she never got over that one.
The 3rd season would be Jackson's last. She continued to complain about the weak scripts, the same scripts that earned her 3 Golden Globe and 2 Emmy nominations. Aaron Spelling was quoted as saying it was not a happy set, and Kate was dropped for the good of the show.
We didn't want to replace Kate with a look-alike of Kate Jackson, so we went For an Eastern, somewhat a little, perhaps mistakenly, she's a little waspy, a little colder than Kate.
While the fourth year of Charlie's Angels began with the show in the top 10, the ratings began a downward spiral, with most of the blame placed on the stiffness of Hack's acting.
Aaron said, you know, just try without going too far to cut down some of her dialogue and let her concentrate, and I'm going to get her to take acting lessons.
The very first show she did, she had one line. Somebody said a line, and they were all standing around on the deck of a ship, and well, what should we do? Shelley's line was, punt? I swear to God, I think that was the only line she had in the show.
Behind the scenes, she seemed just as unpopular with her co-workers.
When they first signed her, she was saying to everyone, oh, I'm so grateful to you, thank you, I'll never forget it. A week later, she's going, you there, get over here.
By the end of the season, the three beautiful angels were regularly defeated by NBC's pint-sized star Gary Coleman in different strokes.
I think people said, you know, enough already with this.
We started kind of a downward spiral with the replacements.
The once unbeatable show was now ranked 63rd out of 65 shows, with the final episode airing on June 24th, 1981. Coming up, Farrah finally goes public about her bizarre appearance on David Letterman.
The audience was having fun, and I thought I was having fun, but apparently. So you, what?
And what was the real cause of the Phil and Bryn Hartman murder-suicide?
The alcohol and the cocaine and the Zoloft in her system, and then coming home and having an argument. I just think she just snapped.
All when TV Guide, the truth behind the rumors, continues. For its original stars, the years since Charlie's Angels have been a roller coaster ride, both personally and professionally. Jaclyn Smith is currently in the third year of her fourth marriage. She has starred in dozens of made-for-TV movies and has developed a very successful line of clothing for Kmart. Kate Jackson has been married 3 times and is currently single. She co-starred in the successful TV series Scarecrow and Mrs. King, and after being diagnosed with breast cancer, had a mastectomy in 1989. In 1994, she underwent heart surgery to correct a congenital defect. More recently, her TV work has been plagued with stories of erratic behavior, including her departure from a guest role on Touched by an Angel.
I'm not surprised at all. She always acted like that.
Farrah Fawcett left Lee Majors for a 17-year romance with his friend Ryan O'Neal. A more recent turbulent relationship with director James Orr resulted in her filing assault charges against him.
I came here to tell the truth. I told the truth. And I'd like to thank you all for caring.
Professionally, Fawcett has become an accomplished and respected actress. In 1995, she surprised fans with a nude photo layout in Playboy, and more recently with a bizarre appearance on David Letterman.
The audience was having fun, and I thought I was having fun, but apparently. So you, what? You look at it and you say, this woman does not know what's going on. She's not really even clear that she's here.
I just watched her destruction over the years.
But the popularity of Charlie's Angels seems to never completely disappear. With a feature film starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu currently in release.
They kept saying, let's do a Charlie's Angels movie. And so I said no. You know, I'd done it.
When you think about Charlie's Angels, you think about 3 specific people. You think about Farrah and Jaclyn and Nick. So the only problem with the Charlie's Angels movie might be that Charlie's Angels aren't in it.
Now, what was he was